Hare Krishna. Welcome to the Bliss Podcast.
Because,
What makes it go from cells to a human being, I guess, is where... And it's not a gotcha. It seems like if you're so eager and willing to end the life of another human being, it'd be pretty important for you to define what a human being is.
it has not had a connection with another human being, and you can still feel love for that let's say creature or human being inside someone else.
Well, why would we say creature?
Because
Do human beings give birth to non-human being babies? Do humans give birth to fish, dogs?
I'm just not gonna
You don't
it is a multi cellular organism inside the womb, basically.
Okay.
I'm just gonna
Which
not
just
say,
looks and sounds and fully functions like a human being.
Yes.
You just don't want to call it a human being.
Yes.
And you're okay with aborting a human being all the way up to 9 months. Let me ask you this, since you just said until they take their first breath. This is the Survived Abortion Bill.
Okay.
And I'm sure you probably heard from Governor Northam. This is the entire DNC platform, everyone running for president, where they actually voted against it, where if a baby is born and has survived an abortion. So this is even after your point, which I think is pretty extreme.
Yeah.
I think even most pro-choice people here wouldn't be okay with abortions up to 9 months. But what about after a baby is born? Let's say it has difficulty breathing.
Then it's alive.
Okay, even if it can't breathe?
If it's on, I was born and I had difficulty breathing
So why wasn't it okay to abort you?
because my parents didn't want to.
But if they wanted to, that would be okay?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm not convinced.
Okay.
I appreciate it. I just think that's an extreme example,
Okay.
but I appreciate you.
So, yes, you just heard that correctly. This is actually one of many interviews that this very nice gentleman, Stephen Crowder, he did with college students here in Texas. Not here in Texas. I'm not in Texas. I'm in London. But he filmed this video in Texas, and he was interviewing these college students who were pro-choice. In other words, it's a very polite, formal way of saying they are for the murdering of children, babies, while in the womb of the mother. And in this case, and in many other cases, outside of the womb of the mother. So, yes, it's not a joke exactly when we say that society is degrading because of the influence of the age of Kali, which is the current age, according to the Vedic scriptures. Time is divided up into 4 different ages per manifestation. It's quite a complicated science. Maybe we'll cover it in another podcast. But in the present age, vice or impious activities are outweighing the pious activities 99 to 1. In short, people are very, very fallen in this age, and it doesn't get any better. There is a period of time where the Sankirtana movement, the chanting of the holy names of Krishna, will purify people, and they'll be elevated to higher states of consciousness for some time. But after that, it's going to really degrade, baby. It's going to be really bad. And you can see some of the signs of the degradation of the age happening now. So, yes, this is quite an extreme example. But actually, it's not extreme. Extreme example would indicate that this is kind of like a one-off thing. But many people, I don't have the statistics in front of me, but in the United States, I know it's quite evenly split. This abortion issue, that people actually are for, if not killing outside of the womb, that does happen to be kind of a more extreme case. They are at least for killing the baby before they say it is alive. Okay, so, of course, now we're going to get into what actually is life, because that seems to be one of the core issues here, at least to my observation. And with my experience, I remember also in my previous life, in my Kami life, although I'm just a young urchin, as they say, I remember in high school I was often debating people who were pro-choice. I was quite a political-minded person, and I would often debate people on this particular point. So I have a little experience with how people argue this, and why they say it's okay to kill a child in the womb. But I'm not going to argue simply from the political point of view and from a moralistic point of view. That is there, of course. But we're going to take it a little deeper. We're going to go and look at it from a Krishna conscious point of view, or a point of view from the absolute truth. A point of view that's established from the Vedic scriptures. So it's authorized, genuine, and sane. Yes, so let's look at it. This is this is going to be a very scientific view of abortion, as explained also by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who is the spiritual master of our movement. Srila Prabhupada was obviously vehemently against abortion, stating many times and using it as an example of the fact that people are so much degraded now in terms of civilization. They are godless, they have no knowledge, they have no understanding, for example, of the soul, of karma, of sinful reaction, that is karma, what will happen in the next life, what the goal of life is. Because people are lacking this knowledge, therefore we see such disastrous effects in the society, like abortion, legalization of intoxicants, so many obnoxious things. So we're going to get into why that's bad, and it's not exactly a sentimentalism. This is not a religious dogmatism, but it is scientific, and let us break it down. So, yes, now, the most important thing to first of all address in this particular, in any argument about abortion, is that we have to first of all understand what actually is life, what is consciousness. And it appears to me, I've watched now several of these debates, and I was also, talking with people previously about the issue. And the thing is that people actually don't really know what life is. That's the core issue, right? Where does life begin? Because if you study people who are pro-choice, pro-abortion, they are not necessarily always for abortion after I don't want to speculate here exactly, but I think it's the third trimester, they call it like that. There's a certain period when a baby is developing. So let's just see here, when you look at a child in the womb, how it's developing. Alright, so this is the nonsense picture. But as you can see here, this is development, right? From a so-called bundle of cells, then to some kind of weird bean-looking thing, a dinosaur-looking thing, and then we have here a child in the more recognizable human form. Now, most people, most pro-choicers are not so extreme as to have an abortion past this point, okay? But there are many cases of people who have an abortion up to the point of birth and even after the birth. Okay, now their argument is that life doesn't begin up until this point or this point. That's because that's when the brain develops. Okay, so now I almost just laughed at some of these memes, so I'm going to take this one off here. So they say the brain develops around here or here, I'm not exactly sure. And at that point, the baby can feel pain, therefore indicating consciousness. But this is not a very good argument, and we're going to jump into what Srila Prabhupada here says about the process of, or not the process, but the proof of consciousness and how we can understand something is alive. What is life? This comes from a very nice book we have available on our Expand the Bliss website called The Proof of You, which is the evidence of the soul from pretty much every angle of vision you can imagine. And it also counters many counter arguments for the soul. And it establishes very, very concretely, very scientifically that A, there is a soul, and B, that life is coming from life, and that the soul is eternal. There's no such thing as matter producing life. This is the main point of this book, and it's all compiled from Srila Prabhupada's teachings. So here we have a chapter called Life Comes from Life, and let's just read at least one of the quotes that Srila Prabhupada says here. Okay? Srila Prabhupada says, everyone can assume something, you can assume something, I can assume something, but there must be proof. Okay? We can prove that life arises from life. For example, a father begets a child. The father is living, and the child is living. But where is there proof that a father can be a dead stone? Where is there proof? We can easily prove that life begins from life, and the original life is Krishna. That can also be proven. But what evidence exists from it that a child is born of stone? They cannot actually prove that life comes from matter. They are leaving that aside for the future. And there's laughter. Okay, so this is this goes deep. Now, you might be thinking, what is the connection here? But Prabhupada here is challenging the scientific consensus, which is by itself a completely nonsense term, that science determines the truth of reality. The physical laws are established by consensus. That's complete nonsense. You know, why should the majority, maybe the majority of fools, and they are fools, why should the majority vote be what establishes the truth of a matter? Anyway, leaving that aside, now, assuming the scientific position, they say that life comes from matter. It's simply a combination of chemicals, right? And then consciousness comes out of that combination of chemicals. Now, you must have proof of this. You must have some evidence that life is coming from matter. Now, can life come from a stone, right? Stone is not alive. It's not a sentient conscious being. Has a conscious life, ever come from stone? It's not true. It never happened. There is an argument in Bengali. There's a kind of a phrase. How do you say, like an epithet, or I don't know exactly the word. But the scorpion is coming from rice. Because in India, the scorpion, sometimes it buries its children in the rice. And then because it's the eggs are in the rice, when the eggs hatch, then the scorpion comes out. And it appears that the scorpion is being born from the rice. Okay, but obviously it's not being born from the rice. It's just there was a cause that was beyond your immediate sense perception, which makes you believe that it's coming from the rice. But that's foolishness now, to just believe that it's coming from the rice. So in the same way, consciousness is coming from the source of all consciousness, and it's not being produced on the spot by a combination of chemicals, although it may appear to be like that. You have to go to the original cause. But even on an immediate scale, we can prove, look, there's no evidence that life is coming from something unconscious, right? What dead bodies combine and make life? It's not possible. So, but we can prove that life is coming from life, because a mother and a father, they combine, right? And when they combine, then a child is born. Even if you make a child in a laboratory with some cells or whatever, some chemicals, guess what? A human being is behind that experiment, so that also means that life is coming from life, right? So now this means that life is not just a matter of chemicals, and if it's not a matter of chemicals, we can ascertain that life is eternal. It's not that it comes about at a certain stage. Actually, consciousness, the soul, is what makes the body grow at all. Without consciousness, the body is dead. So here is also a nice conversation, a nice morning what we can go to here. So let's see what Srila Prabhupada says here. Now, Prabhupada, yes, think over, write article. If there was no life, who is at a certain stage in the womb? Wherefrom the movement comes if there was no life? Harikesha. Well, they say it develops to the point, Prabhupada. But why does it not develop in a dead child, rascal? The same child, if it comes out dead, why the movement does not develop? Well, that one already developed properly and then died. That child had already developed properly. Prabhupada, no, the process is the same. It was not moving. At a certain stage, it is moving. Similarly, if it is not moving, then wait for a certain stage, it will move. Why it is decomposed. So, it goes on very nicely. But, yeah, basically we can ascertain from this quote something very interesting, which is that, just take the argument, very simple. When a body, when the child is miscarriaged, right? The argument is from the pro-choice side, as they say, until 7 months, the child's body is not moving. Therefore, at a certain point, the chemicals combine, and then consciousness is put into the body, arises from somewhere in the body, right? So at that point, it's not okay. For most of the pro-choice, they say at that point, it's not okay to kill the child because life is coming to the body. Now, if that is the case, that the body's not moving and then at some point it moves, right? Now, it should be that when the child is dead, it's also not moving. There's also no life in the body. But it should be that at a certain point, it will move, right? So it's not a very solid argument. Srila Prabhupada elaborates a little bit more clearly here. So Harikesh, until the child is moving, there is no life. Prabhupada, moving? It is not moving? No, it doesn't move until after 7 months. Then why the dead child cannot move, rascal? It's developing, it's growing. That's moving also. No. If moving is not there, then the dead child is also not moving. Why is he not moving again? I don't understand, says Harikesh. Prabhupada, a dead child comes, it is not moving. But does it come to movement again? Pushta Krishna, no. Prabhupada, then? Okay, so, yes, if the body of the child was not moving, and then it is moving, right, then when it's dead, it should also at some point start moving. You just replace the chemicals. Why is he not moving again? The actual answer is because the soul has left the body. Right? If the soul was in the body, if the consciousness was created by chemicals at a certain point, then the same chemicals, where have they gone? What is the difference between that non-moving child body and a child's dead body? There shouldn't be any difference. One body is not moving, and then suddenly it moves, right? And then when a child dies, it's the same situation, but why it doesn't move again? The actual answer is because it's not chemicals, it's a soul that's leaving the body and entering the body. And according to the Vedic conception, and it's also logical, the soul enters the body through the sperm. The soul is actually in the sperm. Now, this is actually contrary to even religious persons, people of different religious denominations. They don't necessarily have this conception of the eternal soul. But according to the Srimad Bhagavatam, Kamana Daiva Naitrena, the soul is progressing from one body to the next, or even clearer in Bhagavad Gita, Dehanasmin Yata Dehe. So we can go Bhagavad Gita here. In the second chapter, Krishna establishes so clearly, Dehanasmin Yata Dehe Kaumaram Yovanam Jara Tatha Dahantara Praptiya Dhiras Tatra Namoyati. As the embodied soul continually passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. A sober person is not bewildered by such a change. So, this is the process of reincarnation, very easily explained by Krishna. You're not this body, right? The body you had when you were a small child, that body is gone. Now you have a different body. Maybe you are a small child watching this podcast. If so, Hare Krishna, thank you for tuning in. You're a very intelligent little child, little baby. So that body, generally, for most people, is gone. And at some point, we're all going to have an old body, which means the body we have right now, unless you're old, will also be gone. And that body will be gone. And actually, the body is always changing. It's literally in a constant process of changing. Even according to modern science, the cells are always changing. Right? So that's actually reincarnation, even within our present experience. You are reincarnating from a boyhood body to a youth body to an old age body. So there's no difficulty to understand that at death, it transmigrates to another body. You are already changing bodies. You're not the body. Your consciousness that makes the body alive. So at death, you also transfer to another body. Now, now that transferal process is that you enter. It's actually quite complicated. That's also explained in the Bhagavad Gita. But eventually, the soul, after a little process of transmigration, is transferred to semen. Now, if you look at a video of semen, it's actually rather incredible. This is a simulation by Nucleus Medical Media. Now, I don't exactly know, the qualifications, but they're a verified channel on YouTube, and they appear to be scientific. So I take this as some kind of credible authority. Just have a look at sperm. Okay, have a look at sperm moving and what the sperm have to go through.
Now, only a few thousand remain. Inside the fallopian tube, tiny cilia push the egg toward the uterus. To continue, the sperm must surge against this motion to reach the egg. Some sperm get trapped in the cilia and die. During this part of the journey, chemicals in the reproductive tract cause the membranes covering the heads of the sperm to change.
That's enough, we just, it's amazing, right? Just observe, the sperm are fighting against, they're moving.
The sperm must surge against this motion to reach.
And it's funny because the guy who's narrating it, the scientist, he observes that the sperm, there's all kinds of challenges that sperm have to go to before they reach the egg. Here they're getting attacked by white blood cells.
Thousands more.
Here they're struggling up this.
Inside the uterus, muscular uterine contractions.
Alright, so all kinds of stuff. The sperm, as he observed, it dies. Now, if the sperm dies, it was living at one point. So life is already there in the sperm. This is even according to modern science. It's right there. They're also admitting that life is there. So the soul is within the sperm. And actually, every time you have illicit sex or masturbate or something like this, you're also committing abortion, because all these souls that are all in these billions of sperm, look at that.
Tube, while the other
These are all souls. Well, I'm not sure entirely. Anyway, but they're all living creatures, as you can see.
half swim toward the tube containing the unfertilized.
So now the fact that I kind of lost my train of thought. So anyway, life is not beginning, as they say, just when the baby's brain develops. The body is actually developing as a result of the soul entering the body, right? Matter doesn't produce life. There's no example of that. Life produces life. If you take the soul out of a baby body, the body no longer develops. If you kill the baby, right? Doesn't matter how many chemicals you put in there, or let's say you don't kill it, you have a miscarriage, the child dies, the soul leaves the body, the body doesn't develop anymore. So it's not dependent on the development of the body that the baby is alive. It's dependent on whether the soul or not is within the body. Okay, so yes, this is one of the most important points because it is a huge misconception, as far as I can observe, that people don't actually know where life begins, and therefore there's so much confusion as to whether or not it's okay to kill a child. Because if the child was simply matter, then okay, whatever, it's just matter. You just destroy the matter. It's also like a nonsense idea, but but because the baby is life all the way through, because life comes from life. Life is the reason the body is developing. It is not only immoral, but it is very sinful to do this. Why is it sinful? Because the living entity that was taking shelter of that body, you've now reset his cycle. Now he has to go and take another body. So you've caused a great inconvenience for that entity, and you are going against the plan of the Supreme, of Krishna, the director of everything. And for that, you also must be punished. Now, another thing that people don't take into consideration is the fact that there is karma. For every single thing that you do, there is an equal reaction. And this is also explained by modern scientists, right? Who is that? I can't remember. For every reaction, there is an equal, I think it's Einstein, right? For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Newton, third law of motion, right? So this is according to modern science. Every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction, right? This is not only scientific, it's also justice. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. You can't do something and expect that nothing will happen. That is blind. So, if you kill a child, you're going to get karma back for that. What comes around goes around. It's not that you do. People even have this as a modern as a common sense conception that if I do good things will happen. If I do bad things will happen. And of course, karma is. We already did a podcast on that. You can go and check out what we have to say about karma according to the Vedic scriptures, which explain these laws of karma very scientifically. But anyway, we're not going to get too deep into it here. The point is that there is accountability that you have to take into consideration with this abortion. Now, the aborted child, of course, is also, if you're intelligent, you may have noticed that he is getting aborted also as a result of his karma, but that doesn't necessarily mean that just because that's his karma that we should all now participate on that, because then we'll become accountable and we'll also have to be killed within the womb. Okay, this is justice. It's not that the universe is just a chaotic nonsense that comes from an explosion, and there's no laws, there's no morality, there's no consequences for anything you do. There's no one observing your actions. This is common sense. Otherwise, why we have a justice system, why people follow anything at all, right? There is people have at least a subconscious understanding that these things are in effect. The law of karma is there. At least something will happen. Otherwise, the world would just simply be a complete slaughterhouse. People would just do whatever they wanted, and they would kill for sense gratification, which they already do, right? So, but anyway, it's not as drastic at this point. It will get worse according to the progression of Kali Yuga, as I mentioned before. Now, why people are so much degraded is because scientists, we're always smashing the scientists here on the Bliss podcast, but scientists are propagating atheistic theories, and these atheistic philosophies, they drive people to this immoral, unjust, godless, psychopathic behavior. If life is just chemicals, if there's no consciousness, if there's no life after death, if there's no God, if there's no purpose to life, then you can do whatever you like. And therefore, we get nice people like this gentleman here who says that you can kill a baby even when it's out of the womb, as long as it's having difficulty breathing.
Well, I'm not convinced.
He's smiling. I don't want to, go too deep into his personal life, but that is rascaldom. That you can just kill, some baby, and it's okay. Right? This is actually where we're degrading from. And if you just take a look at this argument, if you can kill a child outside of the womb, and if your argument, because one of the arguments is that it's the woman's body, so she can do whatever she likes, that means you can eventually, by that same line of logic, you'll be able to kill other people, no matter what age they are, if it inconveniences you. Because it's my body. My body is becoming inconvenienced, and this baby is inconveniencing it. So even when it's out of my womb, it's a separate entity, I can still kill it. This is the argument that they're propagating. They're pushing this. So just see, it may be a subtle, slippery slope, but a slippery slope all the same. So we should be very much careful that these scientists, atheistic philosophy, it is not a sentimental thing. It's not that we're the religious people and they're the atheistic people and there's some kind of war that's been going on since time immemorial. I have my sentiment, you have your belief, and, no. The atheistic scientific worldview is dangerous, and it's costing millions of lives. Actually, 926,000 abortions are happening per year in the United States. Just consider. It's costing millions of lives, this philosophy. Right? So, anyway, let's get into some other points. Let's watch this video. Oh, yes? Okay, I have my landlord here. Just 1 second. Did that yellow come back?
Yeah, because this paint, I need to give 2 or 3 times.
Okay, that's okay.
Oh, I'm not going to leave it like this.
No, that's alright.
Even if I need to come tomorrow to again, give 2 or 3 times, doesn't matter.
That's very nice.
2 or 3 times.
Thank you.
You don't need to thank me. This is going to be easy for me when this wall is going to be hot. Sorry, but because I'm swearing so much, but I'm doing this. I'm really sorry.
No, that's alright.
And it's going to be easy for me.
So, no, it's okay. I'm recording a podcast now.
Okay, 2 minutes, and I'm leaving.
No,
Okay?
it's no problem.
And because I need to come tomorrow too, because I'm going to see 2 or 3 times here. I need to give, yeah.
Okay, I'm just informing you because I don't want you to think I'm
just
crazy.
leaving now in 1 second, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so thank you so much.
On both sides of the aisle don't know this either.
And how safe is abortion?
I haven't got a clue.
Many women in Texas and other places around the country have been hurt in abortion facilities that aren't up to basic medical standards.
I mean, I don't know like a specific number, but a lot.
Actually, abortion is safer than a host of other really common procedures, like getting a colonoscopy or getting your wisdom teeth removed. If you're only looking at the safety of the mother, abortion is actually safer than childbirth. And again, it's not just...
What? Just consider what she's saying. Abortion is safer than childbirth? Okay, yeah, okay, abortion is safer than childbirth for the mother, right? Okay, that's okay. But not really. Who is it not safe for? The child whom you're killing in the womb? What is this? What is this argument, So very twisted understanding of life and what is alive and what is okay also. Why be so selfish? The argument mostly is that, as I said before, it's the woman thinks it's her body, which, first of all, is not true. Now, we're going to go to 2 things here, of course. you might think that we're religious fanatics. We're going to Shastra, scripture, but let's just take a look at one scripture here. Okay? This is Ishapanishad Ishvaya Samidam Sarvam Yakincha Jagatyam Jagat Jena Tyaktena Bunjita Jita Ma Gritaha Kasyasvidanam. So everything animate or inanimate that is within the universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. One should therefore accept only those things necessary for himself, which is set aside as his quota, and one should not accept other things, knowing well to whom they belong. Okay, now, it's very easy to understand, right? The body is made of earth, water, fire, air, and ether, and there has a subtle body also in there, mind, intelligence, and false ego. These are all elements that we had no control of when we were born into this world. We were actually gifted these elements. They constructed a body for us, and we're maintained by things, foodstuffs, water, air, that also we have no control of. They don't belong to us. Therefore, this body is actually not ours. Also, all of these things are energy, and energy comes from a source. Okay? So what is the source of all energies? Do we know? No one knows. The scientists, they set that aside for the future. They have no answer. But we have an answer. The source of everything is the Lord's. Jamadiyasya yata. Okay, what is this? The primeval cause. Lord Shri Krishna, he is the absolute truth and the primeval cause of all causes of creation, sustenance, destruction of the manifested universes. Okay, so God is the source of all energies. Krishna is the source of earth, water, fire, ether, and mind, intelligence, and false ego. That is also explained here, right? You just take a look. 7.4. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, false ego. All these together, these 8 constitute my separated material energies. So this body, it does not actually belong to us, just like this land that we live on. The land was there before we came on it, before anyone was on the land. Let's take America, for example. Now, before Christopher Columbus came to America, that land was there before Christopher Columbus came, and still he claimed credit for that land, right? But the land was there before Christopher Columbus came, so what right did he have to say it's his? He didn't have any right. You might say that it was the Native Americans' land, but also they came to that land, and the land existed long before they came to the land. So they also put claim to that land, although it didn't belong to them. So who is the proprietor? It is the Lord, whom created that land. Similarly, the same with the body. None of these things belong to us. So first of all, from a scriptural point of view, to say that it's my body and I can do what I like with it is completely against not only logic, but scriptural injunction, and it's another result of godlessness. Another thing is that the child's body is not your body. A very nice argument was given by this Stephen Crowder. I have to give him some credit here. He said he was debating one lady who said that the body of the child is my body, right? Because it's connected. If you look at a woman's child in the womb, let's just see, child in the womb, it's connected by an umbilical cord, right? Not exactly a kunti mala, right here. It's connected by umbilical cords, and it's sharing the space with the mother. It's taking the mother's nutrients from the body, or I'm not so expert in the process of development of a child in the womb. That is all very nicely and minutely described in the Srimad Bhagavatam, our scripture, one of our main scriptures that we study. So they say that because the child is in the womb, therefore it is my body, right? Like the child is kind of like part of the, the organs of the woman. So they argue that it's my body and therefore I can do what I want. The child interferes with my body. But just come on, use your eyes. I mean, you love using the eyes, right? Direct perception. here is another body. And so Stephen Crowder said, okay, it's your body, yes, but do you have 10 fingers? Do you have 2 hands, 2 feet? Yes, yes. So, do you have 20 fingers, 4 hands, 4 legs, 2 heads? No. That means that it's another body inside your body. So, this might be your body, but this certainly isn't. Why do you have jurisdiction over that body? Such a nonsense argument. So not only does it not belong to you, your own body, but this body also does not belong to you, both from a scriptural point of view and also from a logical point of view. This is not your body, right? Even admitting that it's not alive, we don't admit that it's not alive, it is alive, but it just factually isn't your body. So how you can decide to choose what to do with it? Okay, so now I'm basically going turbo through all these arguments because it's getting rather late here, and it's a pretty distasteful topic, to be honest. But it should be a common sense. But anyway, let us go through a couple other things that I found. Now, I forgot why I brought this up, but just give me 1 second. So, okay, now, pro-choice people, they say it's genes that are what are keeping the body alive, right? When the gene develops, then you can say the child is alive. But here is the BBC News reporting on some scientific experiment that was conducted by Nature Communications. Right? You can look up this scientist, Professor Roderick Guigo at Barcelona Institute. He conducted an experiment that proved that DNA is found within the cells of bodies after death. Analyzing post-mortem samples, an international team of scientists showed that some genes become more active after death. Okay, so if the body is dead, then how in the hell are the genes still working, right? If the genes are what make life, then how come after the body is dead, the genes are still working? The body should also still be working, right? So clearly, it is not the genes that produce life. But even accepting the argument that it's genes that produce life, take this little interesting video here. Again, we're going to go back to this movie. This is according to modern science. Check this out.
Meanwhile, inside the egg, the tightly packed male genetic material spreads out. A new membrane forms around the genetic material, creating the male pronucleus. Inside, the genetic material reforms into 23 chromosomes. The female genetic material, awakened by the fusion of the sperm with the egg, finishes dividing, resulting in the female pronucleus, which also contains 23 chromosomes. As the male and female pronuclei form, spiderweb-like threads, called microtubules, pull them toward each other. The two sets of chromosomes join together, completing the process of fertilization. At this moment, a unique genetic code arises, instantly determining gender, hair color, eye color, and hundreds of other characteristics. This new single cell, the zygote, is the beginning of a new human being. And now the cilia and the fallopian tube gently sweep the zygote.
So that was a conception. The genetic code forms at conception. Now, accepting that genetics, genes, well, we don't, but accepting that is the beginning of life, even according to modern science, life begins at conception, right? So to kill the baby at any stage is actually and factually murdered, all right? So I think we can thoroughly establish here that it is not a question of when life develops. Okay, life develops from conception according to the scientific version and according to the truth of Vedic scriptures, Shastra, Guru, like that. Life is eternal, and it's just simply transferring from one body to another. So now, abortionists, they give some other arguments, but these are just details. They're really not so much important, especially in the light of this Vedic knowledge. So let's go into a couple other points here that are mentioned by Srila Prabhupada. Here we go. Now, why abortions happen? This is another a very interesting point that has a deeper significance. And we cover the topic of woman in one of our other podcasts, one of our first podcasts. But I think it's Householder Life in Krishna Consciousness. So, women should not be allowed independence. Okay, now I know that many people are going to become up in arms about this particular statement that was just made by myself. But actually, it is a fact that women are the weaker sex, and by nature, they are less intelligent, more emotional, and this is not to discredit them. Rather, the opposite. It is actually a speciality provided by nature so that the woman is very expert at raising the children, being sensitive to their needs, like that. It's an arrangement of nature that the man has the body to work hard and the intelligence to advance in spiritual life. And the woman has a propensity for taking care. She takes care of the husband, encourages him, takes care of the children. And in this way, a happy marriage is facilitated for both the woman and the man to advance in their spiritual life, and also for the children to be raised in a spiritual atmosphere. It's a perfect system by nature that the woman is less intelligent. When we think of less intelligent in the modern conception, because we have no higher goal of life or understanding of the actual nature of real relationships, how things should be executed according to the Vedic standard, we think that calling a woman less intelligent is simply to deride them. But it's actually not the fact when we're talking from the Krishna conscious point of view. Anyway, so women are going for equal rights now, and actually that equal rights is a way of men cheating the woman. Okay, let's get into how Srila Prabhupada explains this. So-called equal rights for women means that the men cheat the woman. Suppose a woman and a man meet, they become lovers, they have sex, the woman becomes pregnant, and the man goes away. The woman has to take charge of the child and begs alms from the government, or else she kills the child by having an abortion. This is the woman's independence. In India, although a woman may be poverty-stricken, she stays under the care of her husband and he takes responsibility for her. When she becomes pregnant, she is not forced to kill the child or maintain him by begging. So which is the real independence? To remain under the care of the husband or to be enjoyed by everyone? Oh, wow, such a statement by Srila Prabhupada, right? So, yes, the woman, because she is allowed so-called independence, she becomes abused. She gets taken advantage of by many men, and she thinks that by being free, by being prostituted actually, and enjoying many different relationships with many men, actually what ends up happening is the men simply take advantage, they get her pregnant, and because she's not taken care of by any man, she has no financial stability, right? Then she ends up getting an abortion. And that's why we see so many abortions happening in the United States. And it's not that I'm making this up. It's not that Srila Prabhupada is making this up. Women on the pro-choice side of the argument, the pro-abortion side, they also admit the main reason that they kill a child in the womb is because of a lack of financial stability. They can't handle having the child. They don't want to give up their life, basically. Well, a completely nonsense reason. Why have sex in the first place, right? That's just irresponsibility. But anyway, the point here is that the woman's so-called independence is actually the cause of all these abortions. And women should instead be taken care of by a husband and not left on the street to be cheated by so many different men. And that's actually why this feminism, woman independent movement is actually a crafty, cruel technique by lusty men, so that women think that they're going for equal rights, but actually they're going to become exploited and unprotected by women. It's a demoniac agenda, and so this demonic agenda is exploiting the woman and causing the death of so many children. Okay, now who propagates this? The scientists, right? The scientists, they are the ones who execute this, the physicians, or whatever you want to call them. They're not exactly scientists. They're killing children. How can they be called medical men if they're killing? Anyway, Prabhupada here elaborates on the nonsense position of such scientists who are carrying out this work. Srila Prabhupada says, no, that is one kind of killing, but directly killing. They, through some instrument, through the vagina, they kill, cut into pieces, and get out. Living children. He is a scientist. That surgeon, he is a scientist and doing this business. Swarupa Damodar is a student of Srila Prabhupada. Yes, medical scientist. Prabhupada, that's all. He is paid for that killing. Swarupa Damodar. They lost the mercifulness, the quality. Prabhupada, what merciful? Animal has mercifulness. They are animals only. This modern civilization is producing animals, that's it. Who was speaking that slaughterhouse? They are giving some injection that the animal may not feel pain. Rascal, he is killing him, and he is humanitarian work. He may not feel killed. If I say, I shall kill you, but you will not feel any pain, come on. This is their philosophy. They are killing, and they are saying, oh, may not be feeling any pain. Such rascaldom is going on. Okay, so, and actually this is what they do in an abortion clinic. They euthanize, and they say it's done in such a way that the child doesn't feel pain, which is complete nonsense. I don't know if you've ever seen an abortion. It's completely horrific. They tear apart the child in the womb with tweezers and so on and so forth. I don't even know if it would be okay. Well, the video's on YouTube. Let's go. If for the weak of heart, I don't recommend that you continue watching. Maybe you can skip a couple minutes past this point. But this is... oh, no, I've lost the thing. Let's see. Abortion doctor. There's a doctor who was an ex-abortion doctor. And, okay, here we go. Oh, that's his conversion story. Here we have, he is explaining the procedure of abortion. It's very much graphic. Here we go. This is second trimester. So the baby is fully formed here. Almost not fully formed, but quite fully formed.
This procedure,
it looks like a human being at this point,
is called dilatation, and is 14. Given a general anesthetic, the abortionist uses a weighted speculum, one like this, that opens the vagina widely. A late-term abortion requires that the cervix be prepared for 1 to 2 days in advance with either drugs or laminaria. Laminaria is a type of sterilized seaweed that absorbs water over 8 to 12 hours and swells to several times its original diameter. Once the laminaria is removed, the cervix will be further dilated using metal dilators, graduated metal dilators. Once the cervix is stretched open, a suction tube is placed inside the womb. This is connected to a suction apparatus similar to a vacuum cleaner but more powerful. The size of a 20-week baby is the size of the length of my hand from the head to the rump, not including the feet. The average baby at this gestation will weigh 500 grams. The suction machine will remove from around the baby the pale yellow amniotic fluid that has been surrounding and protecting the baby. Now, with babies this big, they won't fit through a suction catheter. The baby's bones and skull are quite strong. They cannot be torn apart by the suction alone. The instrument used to carry out the termination of pregnancy is a forceps, a grasping forceps. It is a metal high quality instrument, 13 inches or so in length. The active end of the instrument is about 2.5 inches in length, and it has teeth within the instrument which, when it grasps a structure, will not let it go easily. The abortionist uses this clamp to grasp an arm or a leg. Once he has a firm grip, the abortionist pulls hard in order to tear the limb from the body of the baby. One by one, the rest of the limbs are removed, along with other body organs, the intestines, the spine, the heart and the lungs. Usually the most difficult part of the procedure is extracting the baby's head, because at this stage of pregnancy, the baby's head will be the size of an average plum. It simply won't come through the cervix. In order that this is removed, one needs to crush the skull. This requires inserting the grasping forceps and placing it around the head and crushing the baby's head. That will, of course, cause damage and injury to the skull bones, and one will know that one has achieved that by observing a yellowish, creamy fluid moving through the cervix. That will be the brains of the baby.
Okay, so I think we get the picture. It's practically unbelievable what is going on there. So demoniac. A little difficult to watch, I understand. Sorry if you're weak of heart. I had to take a sip of water now because I feel disgusted. Okay, so yeah, that's I don't know how they say that the baby can't be feeling any pain there. They're ripping it to shreds. But anyway, the point is that these are so-called medical men who are being paid by the government in many places to kill living entities just because the mother is feeling some inconvenience. Right? So this is a very rascal philosophy, and it's simply just a business. It's a killing children business. So just see the state of scientists and medical men in this particular age. This is again because of no God consciousness. Simply money for sense gratification, and that's the ultimate. Okay, so now let's go on to a solution, right? We can talk about this all day. How it's nonsense, and of course there are so many ways in which it's nonsense. But let us now go into a solution. Now, Prabhupada just mentions here briefly. Okay. This is the rascals' philosophy. They have no idea that by training, one can forget sex life. So if you forget sex life, where is the question of abortion? Where is the question of abortion? But they cannot do that. Therefore, it said, Adanti go bhirvishitam tamishram. Okay, so I don't want to read the rest of that quote because we're getting more into what we were previously talking about. Let's get off this image. So, now, you can restrain your sex life. It doesn't seem possible, right? But because sex life is the basis for material existence. But Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita a very important concept, that it is actually possible to restrain from these lower pleasures. Oh no, I've forgotten what that shloka is. Oh, Very bad. Okay, hold on. Just see, I'm meant to be studying this book, teaching it, and I can't even remember. Okay, here we go. Okay, 259, I was close. Though the embodied soul may be restricted from sense enjoyment, the taste for sense enjoyments, sense objects remains, but ceasing such engagements by experiencing a higher taste, he is fixed in consciousness. Okay? Purport. Unless one is transcendentally situated, it is not possible to cease from sense enjoyment. The process of restriction from sense enjoyment by rules and regulations is something like restricting a diseased person from certain types of eatables. The patient, however, neither likes such restrictions nor loses his taste for eatables. Similarly, sense restriction by some spiritual process like Ashtanga Yoga in the matter of Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, etc. is recommended for less intelligent persons who have no better knowledge. But one who has tasted the beauty of the Supreme Lord Krishna in the course of his advancement in Krishna consciousness no longer has a taste for dead material things. Therefore, restrictions are there for the less intelligent neophytes in the spiritual advancement of life, but such restrictions are only good until one actually has a taste for Krishna consciousness. When one is actually Krishna conscious, he automatically loses taste for pale things. Okay? Now, so it is possible to restrain from bodily sense enjoyment like sex life. Now, we're not against sex life. We're not complete renunciants in one sense. There is marriage in our Krishna consciousness movement, but it's the sex life even then is controlled. Otherwise, what ends up happening is that you become distracted from the goal of life, which is not to enjoy sex life and other various bodily pleasures like cats and dogs, and die like cats and dogs. The human form of life is endowed with wonderful abilities. One of the foremost of those abilities is the ability to restrict and control one's senses. The senses are like a network, a pathway, a network of pathways leading to death. If you try to enjoy the bodily senses, then you must be attached to the body, which is temporary, and then you have to die. You have to take another body. Kamana naiva daitrena. Right? That's that shloka. I don't exactly, I think Srila Prabhupada mentions where that shloka is in this quote. Okay, well he explains it, but doesn't mention the shloka. Anyway, now, so no, sorry, I lost my point. The soul, if it becomes attached to the material body because of a desire to enjoy the senses, aka primarily sex life, then it must take another body to continue enjoying. The soul is eternal; it doesn't die, or actually along with the body, but it must be transferred immediately to another material body. So there's the process of nature that it gets another kind of body. However, by processes of yoga, as mentioned here, right, spiritual process like Ashtanga Yoga, this is a process of controlling the senses, elevating the consciousness to higher regions, mostly by controlling the senses. You can become liberated from the body, and in higher forms of yoga, like Bhakti Yoga, you not only become liberated from the body, that's actually rather a result of attaining pure love of Krishna. Bhakti Yoga is the yoga of devotion, the yoga of love for the supreme person, Krishna. And it is a practical, tangible, tasteable process which begins with chanting the holy name of Lord Krishna, which goes as follows: Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And there are certain rules and regulations, of course, with this particular discipline, but by following these rules and by chanting the Mahamantra, it's not even necessary to follow the rules in the beginning, of course. That may be difficult, but by chanting alone, that is giving the higher taste, right? That's actually what we're discussing. That's what we're discussing exactly. By the chanting, of this Hare Krishna mantra, you're connecting to the reservoir of all pleasure, the supreme source of all energies, Krishna. And by connecting to the source of all pleasure, you become free from lust, desire, greediness, these various pulls of the senses, and you become fixed in a higher spiritual taste. Therefore, you don't even need to indulge in lower pleasures like sex life. Even there's a great acharya called Yamanujacharya who says that whenever I think of sex life with a woman, my face turns to spit at the thoughts. Right? I think that quote we can find here. Yes. Okay, I'm not going to read the Sanskrit. Since my mind has been engaged in the service of the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, I have been enjoying an ever new transcendental humor. And whenever I think of sex life with a woman, my face at once turns from it and I spit at the thoughts. Okay, so Yamanujacharya says this. Such a great learned scholar, saintly devotee. By engaging in devotional service, you become attached to the supremely beautiful form of Krishna. Let's just look at Krishna. He's so beautiful, Krishna, that there's no question of being diverted to something. I wish I could show you the painting that's in our temple here. But the form of Krishna is so wonderful that you won't become attracted to any other form. Of course, this is not a material form. This is a transcendental, spiritual form, not to be misunderstood with a material form. But it is realized, this form of Lord Krishna and the relationship we all have with him is realized by this process of bhakti yoga gradually, accompanied with liberation from the material body. So, okay, well, I'm going through here all these pictures. Let's just take a nice, here, look at this, wonderful Lord Krishna. So beautiful, right? So you can actually realize this eternal form with it situated within your own heart, and not only that, you can have a direct face-to-face relationship with Krishna by chanting Hare Krishna. And in the process of this wonderful process of Bhakti Yoga, you give up even the desire to enjoy sex life. And then there's no question of the problems of abortion. So not only we're not just criticizing abortion, that it is destructive, sinful, immoral, illogical, but we are giving the positive solution. Chant Hare Krishna, love Krishna, and you won't feel any need to even indulge in these sinful activities which are the cause of so much misery in the form of millions and millions of dead babies, right? Would you rather dead babies or Lord Krishna? I think, personally speaking, the choice is clear. I don't know about you. Anyway, thank you for listening. I know this was a bit of a rush, but please join me on the next episode of the Bliss Podcast. I'm your host, Maitreya Rishi Dasa. Please go check out the rest of the channel, subscribe, like, hit the notification bell, and Hare Krishna to you all. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Haribo.